Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Roundup. And we have some very, very good news to bring to everybody. And I'm sure if you're paying attention to anything that is going on in the real estate industry, you've either heard of this good news or are getting word of this from somewhere wherever you get your news. But the interest rates have just dropped, and it is looking very, very good for people who are in the real estate industry, but also buyers and sellers looking to move or to purchase real estate or to sell their home and move to a different area as well. So we're going to be breaking down the effects of these interest rates drops and what might happen in the future. What should people be doing? Should they be waiting? Should they be making their move now? And also some advice for real estate agents as well, who might be getting a little bit overly excited about some of this news. But I have my co-host Andres Martinez here with us today, a real estate professional here in the great state of Texas. How are you doing today, Andres?
I am doing well, and I'm very excited, just like every other real estate professional, right? Across the United States, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I know there's been a lot of clients that have been waiting for an opportunity. We've been waiting for good news. We got some good news, and now it's time to help as many clients as possible take advantage of the what I think is going to be a very active buyer's market.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are very excited and they share that same enthusiasm that you have as well. So why don't you break down for us a little bit, just kind of give us a recap of what happened, what are these drops, what do they mean, and maybe a little bit on what might happen in the future as well.
So over the past weeks, we have been kind of our opinion was right. We were forecasting, hey guys, we think the interest rates are the Fed is gonna drop the interest rates, and they dropped it by 50 bips or like 0.5%, right? Um, so that was a very very aggressive cut in interest rates. As far as what most people thought, maybe as far as 90 days ago, they were thinking like 0.25 or 25 bips. They actually did uh, half a percent, right, which is zero point 0.5, which means it's a very, very aggressive. That means that they have kind of stagnated the inflation and they've got a hold on it. There's a couple of factors that come into why the interest rates had trended up, and it was because of inflation and then the job market. Um, because of those two factors, the interest rates kept rising and then they maintained high. But this is the first time in 4 years that we've had a cut, and it's something we're all excited about. And most of the industry is ready to help clients all across the United States.
Right. So I think for a lot of people, this is actually created a lot of a lot of excitement, but also for some people who might be in the market kind of looking around, or especially a lot of buyers out there who are, been waiting for this moment for a while. It's almost like playing the stock market a little bit where, you're looking at a specific stock and it's dropping and it's finally starting to drop and it's dropped a little bit, and you might want to buy now because it's going to go back up again, but they're questioning whether or not they should wait for it to drop a little bit more, right? To try to time the bottom of the market. So I think for a lot of buyers, they might have the same questions, which is, I see the Feds just made their move and made their announcements, and the interest rates have dropped. Should this be good news? That's just good news now, or is it starting? Is it just the beginning of rates dropping, and should I be waiting a little bit more for the rates to drop even lower for me to actually get the best bang for my buck?
So I am a firm believer that if you always find a good real estate professional, right, and they're educated, there's always a deal to be made in any market, right? So the one thing that we might see in this specific market is as the interest rates start trending down, and they're even being optimistic of also being a second rate cut at the end of the year. So that's going to drive a lot of people into the market, right? Uh, we are behind in as far as inventory, but we do have more inventory now than we have had over the past 4 months. So, how long is that inventory going to be out there? We're just going to see on how people react to the interest rates dropping. One thing that also going to express is some of those price points or the home prices, they have not risen or gone up as we thought they were. There are some good deals out there where some homes are discounted. And the reason being, some of these homes have been on the market 30, uh, 60, 90, 120, even longer period of time than that. So therefore, there's a lot of motivated sellers. As more people start coming in the market and those homes are bought, the next sellers, those homes might not be on the market as long. So those prices, you might start competing with another buyer. So right now is possibly one of the greatest times to make a decision and start moving forward. So you could take advantage of this discounted home prices that we have seen over the last 90 days and the lower interest rate.
Yeah, so you're saying that if people wait maybe a little bit longer, they might end up in a situation where they're competing on price with another buyer, where they're both putting in offers, and it's almost creating a bidding situation where they're both going after maybe the same home because of the necessarily the lack of inventory that's on the market, and that that might create a situation where you're actually spending more money on a monthly payment than you are with the current rates the way they are now, instead of trying to wait for them to drop even further, like you said, possibly at the towards the end of the year.
Yes, that is correct. What the interest rates with the cuts, right? That starts fixing home affordability. It does not fix as far as inventory, right? We do have a little bit more inventory than expected, but there will be a time as these interest rates start trending down that you're going to have a more active market. So the sooner you can get into the market, the better it's going to be for you. Your money's just going to be worth a little bit more. You'll be able to buy a little bit more the earlier you get into the market.
Yeah. So that's actually really good advice, right? Because I'm sure there's people who, when they hear the news of possibly dropping, rates dropping even more, then they're going to be thinking about, maybe I should wait a couple more months and seeing how low these rates can actually get versus, when they actually do need to make a decision to go out there and buy a home today, and they're not actually making the move on that. So, kind of on the flip side of that, from a seller's perspective, and maybe you can talk about, just from, what you guys are doing on the new build side, are you guys still being pretty aggressive now after you've heard the news as far as buying down rates and offering certain concessions so that buyers, especially with new build, new construction homes, are able to afford their homes and get into the homes they want, and it makes sense for both you, trying to sell off the home, but also the buyers trying to get into it.
So as far as the reason there's opportunity and the reason I am a firm believer that this is a great time is because I do work for a new home builder. As far as the new home builders, we have committed to a 4.99 interest rate through the end of the year. So because those interest rates are starting to trend down, it's making it more affordable for home builders to buy down that rate for you. Also, if you're working with a realtor and you're working on the existing market, you can also buy down your rate through home concessions. So you can request concessions to help you buy down that rate as well.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of sellers on the market, right? They're still offering certain types of concessions in order to actually get their home sold. Because I think we talked about this in the previous episodes as well. As a buyer, you have to think about from the seller's perspective. They're trying to sell their homes as quickly as possible, right? They don't want to necessarily keep that, or else they wouldn't be putting it on the market. And the same thing, I'm sure, for the new build and new construction side. You guys don't necessarily want to sit on the inventory. You want to sell it off, right, as quickly as possible. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes, and then as far as the concession, right? When you're doing a concession, as far as for the seller, you don't drop the price of the home, right? Because that's always an option, right? If my home's not selling, maybe it's priced too high, maybe I got to drop the price, right? But if the home is, there's been a good CMA, and if the home appraises at that specific amount, instead of dropping that price, why not give uh, your buyer uh, $5,000 concession, right? So let's just say the home is 230, it appraises for 230. Uh, Instead of dropping that price to 225, why not give the buyer a $5,000 concession that they can use as they're choosing, right? $5,000, right? The interest rates have dropped. Now, if I could buy it into the fives, now that makes your home more affordable, and it makes a buyer a little bit more motivated to move forward with the purchase of a home.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways you can structure a deal, right? Like you mentioned, there's a deal to be made in every market, especially if you're working with a knowledgeable and able real estate professional, right? They know these things. They've gone through as much, as many transactions as they have. So they understand what are some of the things that can be, that can be negotiated and that can be created as far as structuring the deal. So that way it makes sense for both the buyers and the sellers on both sides of the transaction as well. So yeah, man. Speaking of real estate professionals, I'm sure there's a lot of real estate professionals, especially agents out there in the market, who are very excited, probably maybe even more so excited than buyers and sellers at the news of rates dropping, right? Because they've had a tough market as a real estate agent in this past couple months, and this is a lot of good news, I think, for a lot of agents. So we were talking a little bit about this before the show, and that is pretty much, what should agents be doing at this time, right? Because, as a real estate agent, you're going to have to go through both bad markets and good markets. And now that we're seeing the market, potentially ticking up again, what advice do you have for real estate agents who are out there who may be a little bit, maybe a little bit overexcited about what's going to happen in the next couple months?
My recommendation for real estate agent is never lose sight, right? Uh, when you're working with a client, you're working in the best interest of the client, right? So we never want to put yourself in a situation where you overextend yourself in your personal life, right? So as your business starts growing, as we foresee, and this is my opinion, um, we are going to start seeing a more active market, right? Hopefully, right, your commissions will start coming in. You have to make sure that you save as much of that money as possible so you're never in a compromised situation where you're caring more about the sale than you're caring about your client. A good real estate agent and a real estate agent that's going to be a part of the industry for a long period of time always focuses on their client. They don't focus necessarily on the income from the transaction. They focus on protecting their client, making sure their client's educated, and making sure the transaction is working best for their specific client. So just not overextending yourself, and start seeing, because I've been a part of both markets, right? So when I first became a real estate agent, I was a part of a really, really active market, and I was able to do well, right? I was very, very conservative, and I had peers with luxurious cars and bags and a lot of stuff, right? Then the market, it kind of tightened up. We probably saw about 18 months where the market wasn't moving as it was previously. And I saw a lot of real estate professionals go back to a normal job or their regular job because they were overextended. So at that point, they were working at a 9 to 5 just to fund a real estate career, right? And their expenses. Guys, always be conservative, always set yourself up for success, and just always work in the best interest of your client, because you never want to be in a point where you're desperate, or you appear to just be concerned about the sale, right? Because when you get in a situation where you're stressed out, and something goes wrong in your transaction, all the stress that you have, you're going to start conveying that over to your clients. So, guys, this is going to be a good opportunity for people to grow their business. Guys, be as conservative as possible, right? Save as much as possible. The real estate market goes up and down. Hopefully, it's going to trend up for a good time. Historically, right? It trends up for a good 6 7 years, and then we have a couple, like a year or two, that is a down year. Hopefully, we just came out of those down years and we could trend up. But guys, just be very, very conservative and grow your business. And I'm excited. This is a great opportunity for you to get your business up and running and help as many clients as possible.
Right. And that's some really good, sound advice for professionals in real estate that are out there, because the market always changes and there's going to be good days and bad days. And if we take advantage of the good days and we invest wisely and we save money and, don't get overzealous, if you will, when we're on top of the world, if you, if you want to think about it, then on the bad days where it's easier for us to get through them, right? And it's easier to survive them so that you can stay in the business. You have the reserves, right? Because you stayed conservative when the days were good, and you're able to, like you said, serve your clients better. So that way you're not always seeming desperate. You're not trying to get a deal across the finish line just so that you can get paid because you didn't have any income coming in, right? And that way, it's actually going to reflect much better on you. And it's actually going to give you more business with more clients because the clients are going to have a good review of you. They're going to refer you to other people that they know, and you're going to have a better reputation as a professional as well. And you mentioned something else, before as we were just talking before we even started recording, and that's treating your real estate career as a business, right? Seeing it as a business instead of kind of seeing yourself as an individual. So explain to agents how they can do that, especially now in a time like this where things might start picking up again. There might be a lot more coming in and coming out as far as marketing and commissions. And how should they be structuring their real estate career so that they're running it more like a business instead of just kind of any other job that they have.
So the reason is when you're a real estate professional or you're in the real estate business, guys, there's peaks and valleys, right? And then there's always to get to that peak, it's a slow, steady uphill, right? And then when it drops, right? When you get on the top of the hill and there's no more, it's going to drop. So, what I've always recommended, and this is just advice that I use for myself, um, I was able to be very successful in both markets. The reason I was very successful is because I planned ahead. If I made $10, guys, uh, let's just say the first $10 I ever made in real estate, I still have those $10 uh, that I saved those $10, right? So I made a commitment to myself that those first $10 were gonna fund my career, right? So how do I make that come true? So every time that I close on a transaction, I would always throw more money into my $10, right? And I would grow those $10 and I would able to pay my quarterly dues, pay my monthly dues, uh, spend some money on marketing, be able to create hats, uh, be able to market my business, market my clients' properties because it's my business and I got to make sure that I bring a value to my clients. So one thing is when you make $10, guys, right? It doesn't mean you spend $10, right? Of those $10, $3 or $4 are going to go to taxes, right? Then um, of the remaining $10, you're going to need some marketing budget. You're going to need some money to pay some dues and take care of maintenance your business. And then $4 or $3 is going to be your take home money, right? So you try to save as much of that money. But what I saw is during the 2021, 2022, people would make $10 and they would spend 15 with the hope or they started to expect that the market was just going to trend up, right? So you keep spending instead of having those $10 in your bank account, now you start owing 5, 10, 15, and you're making a good living, guys, right? And then I started to see the trend where some real estate agents were worried, they were scared, uh, they were a little bit less optimistic, where they had to go back into a 9 to 5. And the reason being is they didn't plan ahead, right? Uh, so my little $10, guys, right? And I made it really simple, um, has got me through the market. And it set a firm ground for me to conduct a business where I only care about clients, where I only care about the buyer's best interest or the seller's best interest, right? It's nothing. My feelings are not attached to it. The real estate business is an emotional business, right? More than just managing a contract. You're managing people's emotions. You're managing the seller's emotions. You're managing the buyer's emotions. You got to make sure you're the person in the middle that's helping ease minds, right? When one side doesn't want to move forward, you got to educate them why it's in their best interest to move forward, how they can save money, how they can make money. And then these are things that we have to communicate without emotions, right? Well, if our emotions is tied to the transaction, then at that point we lose control, right? And when you are dealing with your own personal emotions and dealing in the best interest of someone else, you start to reflect that. Your clients start seeing that. And um, it makes them nervous and it makes them apprehensive. So, guys, make sure as the market starts trending up that you save as much money as possible so you can grow your business.
Yeah, that's some really, really good advice for real estate professionals that are out there. And if you structure it like a business, then it's going to pay you like a business, right? And I think we all have experiences. I'm sure you sharing yours as well. That's exactly what people need to be doing now because it's you can't try to predict what's going to happen in the future. So you want to be conservative now, but I'll obviously enjoy the good markets that are out there as well. Just don't try to expect it where you're doing the what you said. You're making $10 but you're spending 15, right? Because that money might not come back, and if it doesn't, then it really affects what you're doing. And like you said, it affects your emotions, and that could actually mess up your reputation and your professionalism as a real estate agent as well. So
And then invest in education, right? Because of those $4 or $5 that you have to pay in taxes, right? If you're educating yourself, you can account for that, right? You can account for the education and investment you do on yourself, right? And that can help you grow your career. Make sure that you're educating yourself and then reap the benefit of being able to expense that out.
right, exactly. And also, like, a really good point that you made was that real estate professionals have expenses, right? There's dues, there's brokerage dues, commission splits, marketing they have to do for their clients' properties for themselves, right? So it doesn't all just go to you. Make sure to actually budget that out for taxes, for your expenses, for your fees and your dues to actually run it, because just like any other business, there's expenses when it comes to being a real estate agent as well. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
To this day, I anytime I've ever received any type of compensation, um, I have deposited that into a specific bank account and I've paid myself a salary. And it hasn't been a crazy salary. It's been modest salary that I can live comfortable. I can maintain a good living for my family. We don't go without having things, right? But it's a salary. But I am able to continue to grow my business. And when we hit those 18 months, and hopefully we're past those 18 months where it got kind of tough, right? We were still, if you were if you had set yourself up for success, you continue to sell homes. You continue to be successful because you weren't stressing. You were more focused on educating your clients on what a good opportunity that was for them. You were good at explaining why this opportunity and how they can move forward, and you worked the best deal for them, right? You weren't stressed about, hey, where's my next paycheck coming? So I to this day I still write myself a check, and the bank always they laugh and they're like, "Hey, uh, this all these checks are for payroll, right?" And I was like, "Yes, treat. I'm a realtor. I'm a real estate professional. I work. It's my business, and I pay myself. Right? I don't spend all my money. I got to make sure that I have money for expenses, and then at the end of the day, guys, you got to pay Uncle Sam."
Yep, exactly. That's a really smart way of doing it, right? Paying yourself a salary. so that way you're not overextending and not overspending the total revenue that you have coming in, right? It's like any business, like business 101, right? You have your revenue and then you have your expenses, and then what's left is the profit, right? And then you just pay yourself the salary to make sure that you're not spending all of your revenue and you have nothing left for expenses, and that can really catch up to you as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's because everyone thinks like being a real estate agent is glamorous, and you're making, hey guys, you're making $10, right? Of those $10, you might take 5 or 4 home, right? Um, but you try to save as much as possible because you do got to account for your taxes. You One thing that I recommend is making sure that you set like an automated system to keep track of your miles, to keep track of your expenses. Email your expenses to yourself to one specific email account. If you got some form of app that uploads them, because I've heard there's apps, I just always email them to myself, put them on an Excel spreadsheet. At the end of the year, when I have to do my taxes, I show up to my tax preparer, and the guy loves me. He's like, man, you're very, very detailed, and he's able to take care of my taxes for me. But just any expenses, any detail it, guys, right? There's apps that can manage your mileage, Mile IQ, where every time at the end of the day that you went out and showed properties, you could account for those miles, right? And just make sure that you have a good tax preparer that's able to educate you on how these expenses could benefit your business.
absolutely. That's some really good tips there for anybody who is getting kind of excited here, getting into real estate or their business is picking up.
Remember, your tax preparer or your accountant, right? They're going to give you advice, guys, right? They're the professionals in that aspect. You don't go in there giving them ideas and stuff. You let them give you the ideas. So you don't have to be nervous, right? You want to make sure that a professional takes care of you when it comes to that aspect of your business. Just like people trust us with helping them navigate their home buying or home selling journeys, we got to trust the people to do their job as well. So find a good accountant, guys.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Andres, man, I appreciate you being here today and sharing all the value that you did. So, guys, make sure to reach out to Andres if you guys have any needs for your real estate, whether you're buying or selling. He can actually recommend you to a lot of great real estate professionals that are out there. If you are a real estate professional wanting to talk to Andres or get some mentorship as well, make sure to reach out as well. And I'll leave his information in the description down below so you guys can contact him directly. But other than that, man, it's a lot of good news coming down the pipeline. I think people are excited, so we want to keep bringing you guys the news here on the Real Estate Roundup, rounding up all the news, both good and bad, and sharing our take and our expertise in that as well. But appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode of the Real Estate Roundup. Take care.
Take care, guys. See you soon.